السلام عليكم. Welcome back to another episode where we read the Quran in Arabic but discuss it in English. My name's Ahmed,
My name is Safa.
and we are continuing our weekly reading of the Quran. Thank you all for joining us, and hello YouTube when we get there. But let's get straight into it. Oh yeah, we have to move everything. I forgot to check the size of. I think it should be like this. Sorry, we don't have Mahab anymore. Unfortunately, he has decided that he has to move on. So if you would like to join us, feel free to drop an email to preacheraba at gmail.com. It's in the comments it's in the description of every video that I post. So just make sure that you kind of join it. Yeah, actually, this like this should be fine, and we're kind of sweet. So we are looking for a third person. I know there was someone called Medamin who watched one of our videos. If you're watching now, by all means, we recommend that you join us. I've already replied on your comment to join us. But other than that, let's just get straight into it. I think that would be the main focus. And let's put this down here. And let's go. Let's begin as we normally do. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. And off we go. We're 333, a beautiful number.
إن الله اصطفى آدم ونوحا وآل إبراهيم وآل عمران على العالمين.
Okay, interesting first verse. Indeed, God chose Adam and Noah and the family of Abraham and the family of Imran over the worlds. So now here they're adding the context of their time in the concept.
Yeah.
But yeah, do you have any kind of reference perspective on it?
I think it refers to the people of that time, yeah.
Yeah. So because it was in the past, it's not that it's of the people now. Anything else you want to add before? Here, mostly it just says it shows the people of Adam and Noah
Yeah.
and the people of Ibrahim.
And the,
and the
people,
people of
of
Imran.
Imran. And the people of Imran is, so Mary, Sayyidah Maryam is the daughter of Imran. So
Oh,
that lineage. And then Jesus, of
Yeah.
course. And we will discuss today the story of Jesus and
What?
Mary.
which is very exciting.
Yes.
Yeah. Cool.
ذرية بعضها من بعض والله سميع عليم.
Okay, and here it's saying the offspring or the descendants, some of them from some of the others, and God is all hearing, all knowing. So here it's kind of saying how they're interconnected, which is also a bit interesting because the story of Mary, mother of Jesus, as well as the story of Joseph, the one she ends up marrying, apparently they're both, for them to be specifically who they are and how they're connected family-wise, seem to be kind of miraculous in and of itself, which is what I've been hearing.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to Chris, who I played Magic the Gathering with. But it's very interesting. So here there's descendants from some to the others, which is pretty cool.
إذ قالت امرأة عمران رب إني نذرت لك ما في بطني محررا فتقبل مني إنك أنت السميع العليم.
Well, this is interesting. So it says, when it was said, the wife of Imran, my Lord, I have vowed for you what is in my womb, my belly, dedicated, so accept from me, indeed you are the all-hearing, all-knowing. Do you know the context of this? Because it sounds very interesting.
I don't know if there is a specific context, but yeah, it just as it says. So she was pregnant and she dedicated the child that she had in her belly. She said to God, I dedicate this child for you.
Which I feel like in the context given to it, that she's aware of that is around the time when they're kind of expecting the next generation. Because at this point we have the first Israelites that came out, and Moses came with the first prophecy, which came in the Torah.
Yeah.
And they knew that somebody else is coming after them. So for
Yeah.
me, this feels like there's a connection between the two.
Yeah, I don't know, but yeah, within the verses, it comes to a lot of how the connections between all the prophets, and then I found somewhere it was mentioned that between Moses and Jesus, there were 2,000 years, from 1,500 to 2,000 years between Moses and Jesus.
Oh wow, which
Yeah.
is interesting. Okay.
فلما وضعتها قالت رب إني وضعتها أنثى والله أعلم بما وضعت قالت رب إني وضعتها أنثى والله أعلم بما وضعت وليس الذكر كالأنثى وإني سميتها مريم وإني أعيذها بك وذريتها من الشيطان الرجيم.
Okay. So now we find out who the wife of Imran gave birth to, and then when she delivered her, and already you could see that the female gender is being used in the verbs. She said, "My Lord, I have indeed delivered her, a female, and God knows what if she delivered and is not a male, and is not a male the same as the female, and indeed that I have named her Maryam, and that I have seek refuge for her, seek refuge in
And I
you."
seek protection,
Seek
for
protection.
her and her offspring from the devil.
For her and her offspring from the devil that is rejected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just that when she delivered her, she prayed for her that God protects her from the devil.
Yeah.
And she says she's a female, and God, you know that she's a female, and a female is not like a male.
Yeah.
At that time, definitely, and I think and every time, of course.
Yeah.
No one can deny it.
The differences between the
Yes.
genders.
Yes.
Yeah, between the sexes, let's say. Okay.
فتقبلها ربها بقبول حسن وأنبتها نباتا حسنا وكفلها زكريا كلما دخل عليها زكريا المحراب وجد عندها رزقا قال يا مريم أنى لك هذا قالت هو من عند الله إن الله يرزق من يشاء بغير حساب.
Okay. Now the story gets a little bit interesting. So her Lord accepted her with acceptance that is good, and reared her a rearing. But here it's kind of like nabatan is like
A plant.
a plant, but the way that I think it's like the fruits of the plants.
Yeah.
That are good, and put her in the care of Zachariah. So whenever
When Maryam was born, her father died, and then it's mentioned also in one of the verses that come after that. Afterwards, another person needed to take care of her, and that was Zachariah. So Zachariah took care of Maryam.
Zachariah took care of her, and whenever he entered on her, whenever Zachariah entered on her in the prayer chamber, he found with her provisions, and he said, "Maryam, from where do you get these provisions? From where did you get this?" And so she said, "This is from our Lord. Indeed, God gives provisions to whom He pleases without measure." which is a bit interesting. Like my natural human brain wants to distrust whenever I see something that is, from God or something that I haven't seen before. It's my natural inclination to distrust, but we obviously know the story is a little bit more holy than that, and it will continue in that direction.
Yes, and I think like the whole story, you have to really believe that this happened. It doesn't make sense if you think about it, of how the world works today. You would say that would never happen.
Yeah.
That she gives birth without
Without
marriage, and
Yeah.
that she was given food, and no one knows where it came from.
Yeah.
And the whole story of Jesus also, and the miracles of Jesus, because Jesus had a lot of miracles.
Yeah.
So it's all you really have to have faith to believe that this really happened.
Yeah. I mean, it's no more unfathomable as a virgin birth, so to speak.
Yes.
Okay.
هنالك دعا زكريا ربه قال رب هب لي من لدنك ذرية طيبة إنك سميع الدعاء.
Okay. And there only did Zechariah invoke his God, and he said, "My Lord, grant me from yourself offspring that are pure. Indeed, you are the all-hearer of the prayer."
Of all prayers, yeah.
Yeah, so then Zechariah asked, "Grant me by your grace the righteous offspring."
Yeah,
You
so
are-
Zechariah didn't have any children of his own, and his wife couldn't have children.
Okay.
And then he prayed to God to give him children.
Offspring, yeah.
فنادته الملائكة وهو قائم يصلي في المحراب أن الله يبشرك بيحيى مصدقا بكلمة من الله وسيدا وحصورا ونبيا من الصالحين.
Okay. So then the angels called him, and when he was standing to pray in the prayer chamber, indeed God has gives you glad tidings that of Yahya, confirming word from God, a noble and chaste prophet among the righteous. So do you have any background on Yahya, which is John?
Yeah, so
guess
he
John the
will
Baptist.
be the son of Zechariah.
So yeah.
So Zechariah, after he prayed to God to give him a son,
Yeah.
and he was old, and I think his wife was old, and they couldn't have children anymore. But then when he was praying in this prayer chamber,
Yeah.
so here it says that the angels called him and gave him the good news that God is giving you the good news that you will have a son called Yahya.
Okay. So saying good news, but what is this about the chest and the prophets from the righteous?
Yeah, Yahya was also a prophet. Like he was also a good man.
Okay.
So
Who'll be a great leader, chaste, and the prophet among the righteous. This
Yes.
is all descriptions of Yahya, which is translated to John here.
Yeah, which is John in English. My brother's name is Yahya.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
cool.
it is John in English. Yeah.
Cool.
قال رب أنى يكون لي غلام وقد بلغني الكبر وامرأتي عاقر قال كذلك الله يفعل ما يشاء.
Okay, what's interesting is, we continue the stories here. He said, "My Lord, how is it possible that for me there will be a son? And verily has reached me the old age, and my wife is barren." So God said, that is how God does whatever he wills. And here it's just further showcasing the covenant of God to move forward the way that God wills.
Yeah.
Okay.
قال رب اجعل لي آية قال آيتك ألا تكلم الناس 3 أيام إلا رمزا واذكر ربك كثيرا وسبح بالعشي والإبكار.
I have an interesting story to tell about this in a second.
Okay.
But anyway, he said, "My Lord, make for me a sign." He said, "Your sign is that you will not speak to people
For
for
3
3 days, except as gestures, with gestures, and remember your Lord very much, and glorify Him in the evening and in the morning." Yeah, so here it's kind of saying that you're taking a vow of silence for 3 days and see what'll happen. I took a vow of silence for a half a day, for 12 hours, about a month and a half ago, 2 months ago. And I had no idea, I didn't read this part of the Quran yet. And it's obviously tied to some of the claims that I've been making. And my mom's like, "Oh, what? So now you're going to say that you took a vow of silence very much similar to the people in the book." And I'm like, I didn't know this was a thing. I didn't know that people took a vow of silence. I didn't know it was a thing. So it was just weird, random coincidence that happened to be what had been said. But again, coincidence doesn't necessarily make for proof. But there seems to be a lot of coincidences. Is all I'm saying.
وإذ قالت الملائكة يا مريم إن الله اصطفاك وطهرك واصطفاك على نساء العالمين.
And I think this is kind of very beautiful, even though Jesus becomes the main character. It's there's a lot of importance to his mother, and there's some beauty about that as well.
Yes, of course.
And so when it was said when the angels had said, "Oh, Maryam, indeed God has chosen you and purified you and chosen you over women of the worlds."
Yeah.
So he's kind of selected you as the one.
Yes.
There's a lot of care for it.
And I think that a lot of Christians think that Mary is not like a character in Islam, but she actually is.
Yeah.
I think that in Christianity and Islam, Mary is like a
Sanctified.
very important figure.
Yeah. Cool.
يا مريم اقنتي لربك واسجدي واركعي مع الراكعين.
And again, here it's still as grand and as amazing as we see Maryam, and she was put on levels above the women of her time. It's still saying, God is saying, "Oh Mary, be obedient to your Lord and prostrate and bow down and be one of those who bow down." This is something that we all must do, regardless of who you are. You always have to kind of prostrate yourself in prayer and bow down along with those who bow down with you.
ذلك من أنباء الغيب نوحيه إليك وما كنت لديهم إذ يلقون أقلامهم أيهم يكفل مريم وما كنت لديهم إذ يختصمون.
Okay. And that was from the news of the unseen, that we have revealed it for you. So that was the unseen news.
The unknown. So al-ghaib is not necessarily the unseen. It's the unknown. It's something that you do not know. And here in this verse, it's speaking to the prophet Muhammad. So it's saying that this is something unknown to him.
Yeah.
Because of course, I also got the timeline. Between Jesus and Muhammad, it was around 600 years
roughly,
as well.
Yeah.
So he did not witness these events.
Any of this information.
Yeah. So here it says like these are the news of the unknown that we are that we are revealing to you, or like al-wahy is like we are inspiring in a way to you, I think.
Yeah.
Nuhi.
Yeah. So nuhi means to reveal only to the person, and not like, so to when you give it information to somebody, but only to them.
Yeah.
It's kind of like you're specifying where the information goes.
Yeah. And then it continues, and you were not there. وما كنت لديهم, and you were not there when they were like
When they
making
cast their pens.
because Maryam's father died, so they were
casting their lots. They're taking their to find out who will take charge.
Who will take care of Maryam.
Yeah. And
it
you weren't there with
Zachariah.
them as they were disputing it.
Yes.
So you weren't there for this information, but somehow you get this information available to you.
Yes. So yeah, it says that this is one of the unknowns that were inspired or given or revealed to Muhammad specifically.
Yeah. And when it was said to the angels,
إذ قالت الملائكة يا مريم إن الله يبشرك بكلمة منه اسمه المسيح عيسى ابن مريم وجيها في الدنيا والآخرة ومن المقربين.
Okay, and then when it was said, when the angels had said to Maryam, "O Maryam, indeed God is giving you glad tidings of a word from Him, where His name is the Messiah, Isa, which we know as Jesus, the son of Maryam, honored in the world and the hereafter, and of the ones that are brought to God." So here the angels have proclaimed that, Mary, you're going to have a son. There's good news. He's going to be the Messiah, and he's going to be your son, Jesus, the son of Mary, honor in this world and the hereafter, and he'll be one of the ones nearest to God.
Yeah, but what's interesting is that it says the angels told Mary, God is giving you good news of a word from him. Literally, the translation is a word from him.
Yeah.
And what I read it as, this probably means like because Jesus came with the word from God. And in one of the verses that will come after it, it says that Jesus is the same as Adam because they were both born without not in the normal way.
Actually, so it's funny that you bring up Adam, because the debate that I've been kind of having discussion on another separate time is that God spoke everything into existence, but he made man. So most man is made from clay, made from Eve is made from Adam, and then they're born, there's a burning cycle. Except for Jesus was spoken into existence.
Yes, exactly. And
so
this is why
that's the distinction.
Says a word from God. So it says Jesus comes with a word from God.
Yeah. It was slightly different than the creation of the rest of the humans.
Yeah, and then it says, and his name is Al-Masih, and Al-Masih, there also some people try to explain why it's like Al-Masih. Al-Masih comes from Masih,
which means to wipe.
Yeah, and it's mentioned somewhere. Of course, no one knows if this is really true, but it can be like he's like purified, like he's wiped off all sins and all
the wiper of sins, Christ
dirt,
the Redeemer,
all ugliness or all everything. So this is why it says Al-Masih.
Yeah.
And then of course that he's honored and of a very high status in the world and after. وجيها في الدنيا والآخرة. ومن المقربين, and the nearest to Allah, and of those who are nearest to Allah.
Which reminds me of the verse in chapter 2 where it said, of the prophets and of the messengers, some of them are higher degrees from each other, and Jesus was the only one that was specifically mentioned in that verse.
Yes.
Which kind of alludes to the fact that he possibly is the highest, but it's not made as clear for the way that God has described it.
Yeah.
يكلم الناس في المهد وكهلا ومن الصالحين.
And so he speaks to people in
his crib.
He speaks to people while he was in his cradle, while he was a baby, an infant, and in maturity he'll be of the righteous. So he was able to talk even in his infancy stages.
Yes.
Yeah. But this is also because he's been blessed with the Holy Spirit from the very beginning.
Yeah, and he has a lot of miracles. So it comes in the next verses that Jesus could do a lot of miracles. So
Yeah.
قالت رب أنى يكون لي ولد ولم يمسسني بشر قال كذلك الله يخلق ما يشاء إذا قضى أمرا فإنما يقول له كن فيكون.
Okay, and then Mary said, "My Lord, how is it possible that it is for me a boy, and I know and hasn't touched me any man?" Here it says human, but any man.
No human has touched me.
Yeah. And he said, "Thus God creates what He wills. When He decrees a matter, and then all He has to do is say to it, 'Be,' and it becomes." And it comes back to what you were talking about before, where it says a word from God.
Yeah.
Because this is kind of the most important part about Jesus. He had the word of God to kind of be born into creation. He's very separate and very different from the rest.
Yeah.
ويعلمه الكتاب والحكمة والتوراة والإنجيل.
And continuing, after God has created him, and He will teach him the book and the wisdom and the Torah and the Injil. The Torah is the book that was brought down by Moses, and the Injil is the book that is through the life of the Bible shared through the life of Jesus Christ.
ورسولا إلى بني إسرائيل أني قد جئتكم بآية من ربكم أني أخلق لكم من الطين كهيئة الطير فأنفخ فيه فيكون طيرا بإذن الله وأبرئ الأكمه والأبرص وأحيي الموتى بإذن الله وأنبئكم بما تأكلون وما تدخرون في بيوتكم إن في ذلك لآية لكم إن كنتم مؤمنين.
Okay. And Jesus was a messenger, and make him a messenger for the people, for the children or the people of Israel. Indeed, I've come to you with a sign from your Lord that I designed for you from clay in the form of a bird, and then I breathe into the form, and it becomes a bird with the permission of God. Everything that Jesus says always says with the permission of God. And I cure the blind and the leper. And I give life to the dead, and with the permission of God, and I inform you with what you eat and what you store in your houses. Indeed, in that is surely a sign for you if you are believers. So here he's talking about the many miracles of Jesus Christ, and that he was able to make a bird out of clay and bring it to life.
Yeah.
And that he will heal.
Bring back the dead.
Yeah, bring back the dead, all through the will of God.
Yeah, and cure the sick and tell people what they have in their homes and so I think Jesus had the most miracles of all prophets.
He definitely did. He had a lot, and they were nonstop, and they were from his birth. He was even talking during his birth.
He was talking when he was still like a baby.
Yeah.
So.
And the one thing that this kind of is in line with the Bible is that it always says through the will of the Father. The will of the Father works through Jesus. Which I find it quite interesting that the contention point between Christians and Muslims is that the Christians pray to Jesus as if he was God, whereas even in their own Bible and in the Quran, it kind of mimics that. Jesus always said that he does this work through God. God works through him. It's always been very clear that it's God doing the work. Jesus was just the vessel that it kind of comes through.
Yeah, but also in Islam, we don't say the Son and the Father.
Yeah.
For us, Jesus was just a man, like a prophet, a messenger from God.
The highest degree, but still just a man.
But a man, like, yeah.
ومصدقا لما بين يدي من التوراة ولأحل لكم بعض الذي حرم عليكم وجئتكم بآية من ربكم فاتقوا الله وأطيعون.
Okay, now this is something all the prophets tend to say, which is quite interesting, and confirming to what has before me from the Torah, so that I make lawful for you some of the things which have been forbidden for you, and I have come to you with a sign from your Lord, so fear God and obey me. And here, for example, there was the idea that they should stone a woman who has committed adultery, committed zina. For example, this was one of the rules of the Israelites, is that they had to stone her. And essentially, Jesus, like they came to Jesus and saying, okay, this woman has committed adultery, and you're saying we're supposed to forgive her, but our scripture says that we're supposed to stone her. So what is your answer to this? So that's when Jesus wrote in the sand, and he said, okay, let he who has no sin in them be the first to throw the stone. So kind of he amended the rule to say only the one who is pure and absolutely without sin that's able to kind of cast the first stone. And then all of them, one by one, they kind of put their hands down, they walked away, because none of them were truly without sin. And we can't really judge somebody, only God can judge in the end of the day, which I think is very beautiful. So it's kind of like correcting some of the extremities of the previous Israelites' perspective. And the extreme Jewish faith, so to speak.
إن الله ربي وربكم فاعبدوه هذا صراط مستقيم.
Yeah, and the last of the section is that indeed God, my Lord, is your Lord, so worship him. This is the path that is straight. This is the way. This is the correct path that I'm asking of you to do.
Yes.
Cool. Pretty clear section. Next.
فلما أحس عيسى منهم الكفر قال من أنصاري إلى الله قال الحواريون نحن أنصار الله آمنا بالله واشهد بأننا مسلمون.
Okay. And then one was perceived by Jesus that some of his people were being drawn to disbelief. He said, "Who are my helpers, my victors, the ones who push me to victory towards God?" So it said the Hawariyin, the disciples. Here it's kind of splitting up the followers of Jesus into Hawariyin. We are the ones that are helpers for you. And it's also interesting to note that this word Ansar is what we refer to
it's
as...
not helpers. You mean Nasara?
Yeah, An-Nasara. It translates to helpers or victors, but for us it means the ones that stood with Jesus and agreed with him for God, because they're the ones who were the disciples that believed, and they bear witness and they believe that they have submitted. Now here, Muslims is the loose translation, but the reality is it's talking about the people who submit to the will of God.
Yeah, so that's what it means, but this is the word that we use until now for Muslims.
Yeah.
It also means the people who submit.
Yeah.
So here it says that the people who followed Jesus, who accepted Jesus' message, said, we are Muslims. Like, we submitted to God. And it comes to the idea that comes, I think, a lot in the Quran, that from the beginning of Abraham was also a Muslim for us.
Yeah.
He came before Muhammad, before the actual message from Muhammad, because the word Muslim does not necessarily mean, it's not what it means today. It's not what people understand it today, but it means people who submit to God.
Yeah.
And who accept the message of God, and who accept that there is only one God, and
Yeah. Which I find it kind of ironic, because the ones that submit to the belief of Jesus as well is kind of different from the Muslims that we know today. The Muslims that we know today don't necessarily follow the Bible, and they're not interested in looking at the Bible, even though there's a lot of teachings that came down to Jesus that weren't in the Quran, for example.
But all Muslims should accept the message of Jesus. Like, all Muslims believe in the message of Jesus and the message of Moses. We do believe that these were prophets and messengers from God, and they came with a message, and we believe that it's a message from God.
We believe that it's a message from God, but the Muslims that I know study only the Quran.
Yeah,
And they're
because
not-
what is said today is that all the other books are not the same, are not the message that was brought down at that time, that it
Yeah.
was changed.
Yeah.
So this is why, but theoretically, Muslims should believe in all the three
Yeah.
messages.
Yeah. Yeah, also just kind of interesting that Ansar sometimes refers to Christians, but here it means victors, the ones who sided with Jesus. And Muslims, even though we know it as the term Muslims, it really means those that have submitted their will to God.
Yeah, and here it says, so when Jesus felt this belief, this is of course referring to the people of Israel. Bani
Well,
Israel.
I mean, there's some, like here it's just saying that there are some parts of some of the people, it's just saying who's disbelieving. It's not saying specifically Israel. We know that some of them were there, but we
it's
also know,
referring to the previous ones.
yeah,
Because and Jesus was among the people of Bani Israel.
yeah.
These were his people.
But also some of Bani Israel do believe, and there is kind of a common feeling of that. That it's not just the ones of Bani Israel that were the disbelievers, because they had some believers within them as well.
Of course, yeah, but this is the group that we're talking about. Let's say,
Yeah.
this is the group of people that he was talking to, and then he said, "So who are my victors?" I think it's the right word.
Yeah.
And then
Victors, I
and
like
then
that.
the disciples said, we are your followers, we believe
Yeah.
in God, and we witness that we are Muslims,
Yeah.
which basically means we
Yeah.
witness that we submit to
the
God.
will of God. Yeah. Clear.
ربنا آمنا بما أنزلت واتبعنا الرسول فاكتبنا مع الشاهدين.
Our Lord, we have believed in what you revealed, and we followed the messenger. So write for us amongst the witnesses. Right, like include us amongst the witnesses. Write for us. Count us amongst those who bear witness. I like that kind of like.
Yeah, who witnessed the prophets? I think that's what it means
Who followed the
in the
message.
message, like
Yeah.
in the meaning of it, like the witnesses of the messengers, or
Yeah. And they're the ones, obviously, who stood with Jesus when he saw there was disbelief.
ومكروا ومكر الله والله خير الماكرين.
Now, this is kind of an interesting, it's a very short sentence, but it means a lot. So they schemed and they plotted, and the Lord plotted as well. And God is the best of all the plotters, the planners.
Yeah, so this is a very short verse, but when you read like the meaning and the interpretation of this one verse, you will find pages,
plentyfold.
because
Yeah.
it refers to, and of course it's also in Christianity as well.
Yeah, much
It refers to the whole story of what happened before Jesus was crucified.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, I can mention what I said, but I know that there are many versions of this story.
Yeah.
But basically that Jesus, he had the disciples, and then he was trying to still talk to the Bani Israel, and then they plotted against him and they wanted to kill him.
Yeah.
And then they sent someone to kill him, and Jesus was inside like a room or something, and then they sent a man inside, and according in the Muslim interpretations, it says that Jesus at that point, God lifted Jesus, like I don't know if he died or he just, God took him up to the skies, so Jesus was not there anymore. And then they thought that the man who went to get him was Jesus, and they crucified this man.
Yeah.
I think in Christianity it says that Jesus himself was crucified, but this is the story that we have in Islam.
Yeah, that he was replaced with a body double and that somebody else. And I think they do kind
Someone
of...
else took the exact shape of Jesus,
Yeah.
and then he was crucified instead of him.
Yeah.
And this is why it says like they schemed against him, but God
schemed back.
and,
Yeah.
and of course like they didn't know they
Yeah.
crucified someone, but this was not actually Jesus.
Yeah.
So the exact story of what happened are not in the verses.
Not these verses.
Not
but I think
these
it's-
verses.
But they will come back at a later date, I think.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if the story of exactly what happened in the crucifixion is there or not.
I
but,
believe it is, but I think in Surah Al-A'raf, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I've been kind of reading bits and pieces of the Quran here and there, and I do believe the story is coming. I'm not quite sure of it, but I know it's coming later in the book.
Okay.
إذ قال الله يا عيسى إني متوفيك ورافعك إلي ومطهرك من الذين كفروا وجاعل الذين اتبعوك فوق الذين كفروا إلى يوم القيامة ثم إلي مرجعكم فأحكم بينكم فيما كنتم فيه تختلفون.
Okay. And when it was said, when God had said, "O Isa, indeed I am taking you and I'm raising you and to myself, I'm purifying you from those who disbelieved, and I will make those who follow you superior to those who disbelieve on to the day of resurrection or the day of judgment. And then to me, your return is, so I will judge between you about what you were in it, disagreeing in."
Yeah. So here it says I will take you, but yeah, it's I'm not sure if he really died, if Jesus really died and then he was brought up, or he didn't actually die, like he was just.
It's not mentioned here specifically, but it might be mentioned a bit later.
Yeah.
But here it's just saying that, and then I'm going to make the difference between those who follow you superior to those who disbelieved on the day of resurrection, and then to your return, I will judge between you about what you used to disagree in.
Yes. Yes.
And God will be the ultimate judge.
Yeah, so it's a promise that the people who follow Jesus will always be superior to the people who disbelieved him.
Yeah.
أما الذين كفروا فأعذبهم عذابا شديدا في الدنيا والآخرة وما لهم من ناصرين.
And then for those who disbelieved, I will punish them with a torment that is severe in this world and the hereafter, and they will not have for them any helpers. This is kind of repeated quite a lot in the Quran, and repetition is the key. Continue saying that those who disbelieve, they have punishment in this life and the hereafter, and they will have no victors, no helpers.
وأما الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات فيوفيهم أجورهم والله لا يحب الظالمين.
Yeah, and here we say the opposite, and except for those who believed and did the righteous deed. So, yeah, he will grant them in full. He will give them what they're owed from their reward, and God does not love the wrongdoers. And there's a lot of peace to be found in this, I think, because a lot of people feel that life can be unfair sometimes, and life can be, the wrongdoers tend to get away with things, and God is just here repeating that no, nobody's getting away from it. God is keeping mindful of all the deeds that are happening. And I think it's pretty clear.
ذلك نتلوه عليك من الآيات والذكر الحكيم.
And that is what we recite for you from our verses and the reminder of the wisdom, the
Yeah.
Son.
So that is referring to the whole story of Jesus.
Yeah. And it was being recited to you, the prophet, from our verses and the reminder of the wise. And what is being recited?
إن مثل عيسى عند الله كمثل آدم خلقه من تراب ثم قال له كن فيكون.
Yeah, so here you see what Safa was referring to earlier.
Yeah.
Indeed, it is the likeness of Jesus near God in the likeness of Adam. He created him from dust and then told him to be, so he was. So Adam was spoken into existence, Jesus was spoken to existence, and it was the word that kind of drove that into existence.
الحق من ربك فلا تكن من الممترين.
And the truth, or
This is the truth from your
this is
Lord.
the truth from your Lord. So do not be among the doubters.
Yes.
Yeah, which I think is very beautiful.
Yeah.
It's relevant for us even today.
Yeah, and I think it's very relevant after the whole story of Jesus and Mary, because if you think about it with your like logical mind of today, you will definitely have a lot of doubt that something like this can happen, and that
it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But
but then this is a verse that says specifically, this is the truth from God. Don't doubt it.
Yeah.
Don't be a doubter.
Yeah. Which is relevant because, ironically, this was the first time that I made the comment and I was struggling a little bit, so I think it came at the perfect time for it. Yeah.
فمن حاجك فيه من بعد ما جاءك من العلم فقل تعالوا ندع أبناءنا وأبناءكم ونساءنا ونساءكم وأنفسنا وأنفسكم ثم نبتهل فنجعل لعنة الله على الكاذبين.
Okay, so now here's a continuation to the prophet after this has been revealed to him. Then whoever argues with you concerning it from after what has come to you from knowledge, then say, come on, let us call our sons and our daughters with your women and
with our women and your women.
Your sons and our women and your women.
Yeah, so our sons and your sons,
and
our women and your women.
I don't know why I struggled.
Ourselves and yourselves.
Yeah. And then we humbly pray, and then we invoke the curse of God at the ones who are lying.
Yeah, so that we pray we curse the person who's lying.
Yeah. So here again, it's calling for the Muslims and the Christians to join together. But as we know, at the end of that story, they don't end up. Not always, not all of them. Some of them do, but some of them don't.
إن هذا لهو القصص الحق وما من إله إلا الله وإن الله لهو العزيز الحكيم.
Yeah, so here again, it's the contention point between Christians and Muslims. The Christians were praying to Jesus, but the Muslims and Muhammad was saying that indeed this is surely the narration of truth, and there is no God except for God, and indeed God is the one who is almighty and all-wise. There's only one all-powerful, rather than Jesus being the Son of God and Jesus being God himself.
Mm-hmm.
فإن تولوا فإن الله عليم بالمفسدين.
So, and if they turn back, indeed, God is all-knowing of the corruptors. So here it's kind of saying that, if they had, not continued with their disbelief,
بالمفسدين.
then they would have they would be corruptors if they don't turn back, they will be corruptors.
Yeah, so if you go to the previous verse for just a second. Yeah. Yeah, I think because there was a point I wanted to mention here, because it says, after you said that we bring our wives and your wives and see who's lying, and then here it mentions, this is the true story, and there is no God but Allah. I think this is also very significant that it mentions very specifically that after the story it says that there is no other God than one God, which is Allah, so that people do not confuse that Jesus was in a way a God or a son of God, or it mentions specifically that there is only one God. God,
which is the dispute that they have between the Muslims and the Christians.
Yes.
And if they were to turn back from what they were saying, that Jesus is God, then indeed God is all-knowing of the corruptors.
Yeah.
قل يا أهل الكتاب تعالوا إلى كلمة سواء بيننا وبينكم ألا نعبد إلا الله ولا نشرك به شيئا ولا يتخذ بعضنا بعضا أربابا من دون الله فإن تولوا فقولوا اشهدوا بأننا مسلمون.
Okay, and here it's kind of expanding on that topic. Saying to the prophet, "O people, the people of the book, which we know are the Jews, Christians, and Muslims, come towards a word that is equitable between us. So come to an agreement between all of us and between you that we do not worship anyone except God, and we do not associate any partners with Him, and we do not take some of us to others as lords without God, or besides God. Then if you turn away, they say, bear witness, we have submitted to God.
So this is if the people of the book turn away from that, so tell them, okay, but we witness that we submit, or that we witness that we are Muslims, which actually means that we have submitted to Allah alone.
Yeah, that we have submitted to Allah alone, I think is the correct way of doing it. Yeah. But here's where the Muslims say that you have to become Muslims, which is not quite the accurate statement.
No, what do you mean?
بأننا مسلمون.
That we are Muslims.
Yeah, but so we're Muslims in the act.
Are Muslims.
We're Muslims in the act of submission, not in the identity of being a Muslim only. It's the same thing that we've been talking about from before, that the word Muslimun means to submit.
Yes.
Rather than...
Yeah, it's not... Yeah, I know what you mean. It's not the meaning that is understood today.
Exactly.
Here, definitely, it's not the same thing. But here, I think it's a very beautiful verse, because it's in a way, because you were talking a lot about uniting,
the three.
What brings the three religions together. So I think here it says that to the Prophet, to tell all the people of the book, we should all be united, that we worship only one God, and we don't worship anyone with that God, and we do not take others lords between us.
Yeah.
And if they are okay with it, then we are all the same.
Yeah.
At the end. So that's the only difference, actually.
Yeah.
I think in a way it means that this is the only difference, and if they agree with that point, then there will not be many differences.
Yeah.
But if they turn away from it, so then here it says, for the people who do not turn away from it, that they should then say we are Muslims, which means that we submit to Allah.
Yeah. Yeah, instead of saying we are Muslims, we are. If you're going to say it in English, then say we submitted to Allah. But in Arabic, obviously, that the word Muslims has that meaning built into it.
Yeah.
يا أهل الكتاب لم تحاجون في إبراهيم وما أنزلت التوراة والإنجيل إلا من بعده أفلا تعقلون.
Yeah, here is saying, oh people, a continuation of the previous verse, oh people of the book, why do you argue about concerning Abraham, while what has not been revealed from the Torah and the Injil, except what came after him? Why do you not use your intellect?
Yeah, and this is because Jews were saying, so the meaning of it that I read is that Jews were saying that Abraham was a Jew, and the Christians were saying that Abraham was a Christian. And then here it says, what are you arguing? Abraham came long before the Torah and the Bible.
Yeah.
So aren't you, don't you think about it? And this is actually the point where I got the timeline. So if we start from Adam and Noah was around 1,000 years difference. And then between Noah and Abraham, 1,000 years. And then between Abraham and Moses, around 700 years. Then from Moses to Jesus, 1,500 to 2,000. And then from Jesus to Muhammad, around 600.
Yeah. Are you
So
sure
it
about
was
the
like-
1,500 to 2,000?
Of course, I'm not sure about that. Of course, I'm not sure.
'Cause I feel like it would be a shorter distance, a shorter time, as based off of what I knew from.
Between Moses and Jesus.
Yeah, I think there's about 1,000 years if my math is a little bit, maybe 1,000 plus.
Yeah,
Yeah.
1,000 plus.
Yeah.
It's definitely 1,000 plus, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You cannot be sure about it, but it's a long time. Anyway, It was a long time between each prophet and the next one.
But I like your argument is that they were all arguing about Abraham. The Jews were saying he's a Jew. The Christians were saying he's a Christian. Whereas both the Torah and the Bible were brought from after him. Do you not use your intellect? And for me, this also applies to Muslims, because now all the Muslims are saying everyone that came before them was a Muslim, and you're like, no, you're kind of missing the point. You're kind of missing the point is that all of these books came after, and they're all a part of the same structure. And to say that they're all the same as you are is kind of the same argument.
The thing is, for us, Muslim does not mean a specific thing. Like you said, Muslim in Arabic means comes from taslim,
Submitting. Yeah.
from submitting to Allah. We just believe that all the prophets followed the same God. Were following the same God. Came with a message from the same God.
Yeah.
And with the same message, mainly it was the same message. Of course, it changed afterwards and became like a completely different thing. But what we believe is that all these prophets, they came from the same God with the same message in different ways. So that's what it means. And this is and when you say Muslim, you just mean that someone who submits to Allah.
Yeah.
You don't mean that he follows like a specific.
Your explanation is correct, but it's not the argument that I found that comes from my family. All of them want to do exactly as the Christians and the Jews did in this specific verse. All of them want the Christians and the Jews to call themselves Muslims, which I find is exhausting. I think it's a part of the problem. But I like your explanation.
Today,
your explanation is the correct one, but unfortunately that's not exactly
Thank you.
But it's not something that I've seen among the Muslims themselves.
ها أنتم هؤلاء حاججتم فيما لكم به علم فلم تحاجون فيما ليس لكم به علم والله يعلم وأنتم لا تعلمون.
Yeah, here it's a kind of continuation from the dispute.
Yeah.
here you are, those who are arguing about what is of it in knowledge, what knowledge you have. Then why do you argue about what
What you don't know
what you
about.
don't know about of what you have any knowledge of? And God is the one who knows while you do not know. Which I think this is also kind of a reminder to be humble, and also kind of a reminder to myself. I argue way too much when the answer should be quite simple. I don't know. I don't know. Only God knows, and this is something that should be very important. Something that we repeat quite often, and that's something that I forget quite often. Why are you arguing if you don't know?
Yeah.
Which is a very human trait.
Yeah. That's true.
ما كان إبراهيم يهوديا ولا نصرانيا ولكن كان حنيفا مسلما وما كان من المشركين.
Yeah, this is exactly the verse that I'm telling you about that a lot of people use to say that no, the same problem here, even though God is being clear, is he's not Ibrahim was not a Jew nor a Christian. People use this verse to say, but he was a true Muslim, and you're like, no, you're kind of missing the point. It's not about the identity of the last group. It's about the act of submitting.
Yes.
And we're all supposed to submit to God and not be proud and not say we're correct and you're wrong and
Yes.
our people have got it right and you've got it wrong.
Yes.
And nor was he from the polytheists, people who believe in more than one or equate to more than one to God.
Yes.
إن أولى الناس بإبراهيم للذين اتبعوه وهذا النبي والذين آمنوا والله ولي المؤمنين.
Okay, indeed, the best claim for the people of Abraham are those that follow him and this prophet. And those who believed, and God is the guardian for all those who believe.
Yeah. So the people who have the right to claim that they are followers of Abraham are actually the people who really followed him.
Yeah, and who followed this prophet.
Yes, and this prophet and the people who believe in
And the people
God.
who believe in God. And God will be their protector, their guardian.
Yeah.
طائفة من أهل الكتاب لو يضلونكم وما يضلون إلا أنفسهم وما يشعرون.
And then a group or a wish from a group of those people of the book that they wish that they could lead you astray, and they do not lead astray except for themselves, when they do not even perceive.
يا أهل الكتاب لم تكفرون بآيات الله وأنتم تشهدون.
O people of the book, why do you deny the signs of God while you bear witness to them? So you've kind of seen the signs of God, and this is something that we've seen time and time again, that they're given signs from the Lord, given miracles, given proof, and they bear witness to it, but then they still deny it, and they still don't believe in it.
Yeah.
يا أهل الكتاب لم تلبسون الحق بالباطل وتكتمون الحق وأنتم تعلمون.
And then here it continues, O people of the book, why do you mix the truth with falsehood, and you conceal the truth, and you actually know? And again, this is, I think, relevant to the time that this was brought down to the book, because this is the dispute that happened between the people of the books. So the people of the books are the Muslims, the Christians, and the Jews, and they still kind of have this fight between them, even though they've all been given the truth, and they still kind of disguise the truth with falsehoods.
Yeah, but I think it refers specifically to the Jews and Christians. When it says Ya Ahl al-Kitab in the Quran, it refers to the Jews and the Christians.
I think
So people of the book other than because when it talks about Muslims, it either mentions the believers, يا أيها الذين آمنوا, when it talks to Muslims and the people who believed in the Prophet. So it says to those who believe this and this and that. When it says the people of the book, it refers to the Jews and the Christians. And I think in this verse, when it says, why are you mixing the truth with lies and you are concealing the truth? I read that it means you're concealing the truth when it comes to that they knew that there is another prophet who's coming and with his exact description, and then they concealed that.
Yeah. I understand, but that's very much the Muslim-centered perspective. But from my perspective, whenever it sees the people of the book is of three parts: the Quran, the Torah, and the Injil.
Yeah.
They're all parts of it, and there are many parts. There are many Muslims who have been given clear evidence that the Bible came down to Jesus and the Torah came down to Moses. Yet they have no interest in those books whatsoever. They have no interest in the teachings, and they don't feel like making those connections. So for me, this puts them within this group. At least from my perspective, how I understand it. But I get the
other perspective.
The other perspective.
Yeah, the other perspective is that in general, when it says people of the book, it's referring to the Christians and Jews.
Yeah, I believe it also refers to the ones reading this book too.
And to believers, when it says believers, it's speaking about people who believe in the message of Muhammad.
For me, the believers are the ones that message in what the message of Muhammad also means that you have to believe in the message of Jesus. You have to believe in the message of Torah.
Yes, of course. The believers not only in the message of Muhammad, but by default for Muslims to be, they have to believe in God. They have to believe in all the prophets, and it came in the verses that we discussed before.
Yeah.
There are so many things to believe, not only the message of Muhammad, but within the message of Muhammad is that there is only one God. There are angels and the heavens and the day after and Jesus and this story. If you believe in the message of Muhammad, then this is part of the message of Muhammad, that Jesus was a prophet and he had a lot of miracles and he came with a message of his own and Mary and all. So it's all part of.
I want to make a distinction from the Muslims that don't try to follow the teachings and guidings of Jesus and of Moses, because there are of those quite a lot. And that's kind of
and this is actually this is of course wrong. So from even from what we read, like in the few sessions we had, that you have to believe in all the prophets that came, and you do not make any distinction between the prophets.
Correct.
But I think the issue today is that when you talk about the Bible and the Torah, they were changed a lot.
Yeah, it's hard to know what the original message is.
Everyone knows, like it's the books were written and rewritten, and there are different.
Yeah, but there are some main messages from them. But we have to work together to kind of figure out what that is. But that's a problem for another day.
Yeah.
All right.
وقالت طائفة من أهل الكتاب آمنوا بالذي أنزل على الذين آمنوا وجه النهار واكفروا آخره لعلهم يرجعون.
Okay, and a group of them said, of the people of the books, believe in what has been revealed for those who believe in the beginning of the day, and reject it in the end of its night and the end of the day, so perhaps that they may return.
So they may,
abandon their faith. It's kind of to give up on it. So
and this is also speaking about a group of the people of the book, probably about from the Jews, that they said believe in what the believers believed. We here it refers to the believers as the people who believed in the message of Muhammad. Believe in it in the day, and then disbelieve it at night, and then this way you may make them like doubt it.
Faith. Yeah, doubt what's being said. Is this the last one? No, not yet.
ولا تؤمنوا إلا لمن تبع دينكم قل إن الهدى هدى الله أن يؤتى أحد مثل ما أوتيتم ربكم قل إن الفضل بيد الله يؤتيه من يشاء والله واسع عليم.
Okay. And as a continuation of the people who disbelieved, they told them that they won't believe during parts of the day, don't believe in parts of the night, so that you may give them doubt. And do not believe except for those who follow your own religion. That's what they said. Say that indeed true guidance is the guidance of God, and it is given to the one who is like what was given to you, or so they may argue with you near your Lord. Say, indeed, the bounty is in the hands of God, and He gives it to whoever He pleases, and God is all-encompassing and all-knowing. So again, here having disputes between what was brought down to them versus what was brought down to everybody, and here you're saying that indeed God is the one who controls the bounty in the end of the day, and to Him comes the judgment. He gives it to who He wills, and God is all-encompassing and all-knowing.
يختص برحمته من يشاء والله ذو الفضل العظيم.
Yeah, continuing here, it's saying God chooses for His mercy whoever He wills, and God is indeed the possessor of the bounty, the greatest bounty. Again, just reaffirming that there will be disputes between the people, and really God is the one who decides in the end who gets rewarded and who does not. Cool. Thank you for joining us today. It's definitely a lot less fun without Mahab, but we still do our work. We still feel that this is good work, and we enjoy having you. We enjoy having the ability to share this with you. So thank you very much. We're going to end the session as we always do, and say صدق الله العلي العظيم. Oh, the audio is muted. Hello, sister and brother. No, it says the audio is muted, but the audio seems to be fine. So I will double check it before we end it. But either way, thank you for watching. Thank you for YouTube. Ma'as salama, and take care.
Bye.